I was born into a family of Chithra. So, how to say Chithra in Sagar is the Chithra where I was born. So, in the entire family, I got to see how Bhavna is the Chithra theatre, or the music, music or the prayers are being offered as a kind of ritual. So, my first connection to the world of performance was through Bhavna, was through theatre.
Namaste.
Namaste, Chithra ji.
Lovely to see you. Thank you so much. Welcome to Chat for Chithra Season 2. It's my great honor and privilege to have you as my guest today. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you. Welcome to Chat for Chithra Season 2. It's my great honor and privilege to have you as my guest today.
And first and foremost, thank you so much for making me a part of this series. And I really look forward to interacting with you and share my humble knowledge.
I know you are an exponent of a very, very distinct Indian classical dance form, Sattiriya and Nritya. I'm very keen to know, and so will all our viewers, as to what this dance form is all about and how did this originate and what is the current situation of this art form, or how popular it is across India and abroad.
Well, Chitraji, the question which you have asked, that could be a thesis itself, because it's 600 years old dance tradition that we are talking about. And I have been a learner and a humble disciple of this dance form. I mean, in a way, I feel blessed that it was handed down to me, because I belong to a Vaishnavite monastery, Chithra, where the art form is practiced. So to start with, let me introduce all my art lovers that whenever we talk about the Sattritya, or as we locally pronounce as Chithra, it takes us back to 15th century Assam, when the great saint, poet, philosopher, preacher, social reformer, Srimanta Honkorib, popularly referred to other parts of India as Sankaradeva, Srimanta Honkorib, he introduced this art form as a medium to reach out to people and spread about Bhagavata faith. So this was the step towards the development of Neo-Vaishnavism in Assam through the saint poet. And here the arts played a very pivotal role. And his first creation was Onkya Nat, which is the Sattiriya theatre. And the Onkya Nat itself is a combination of music, dance, and drama. And it became very popular, and with the Onkya Nat itself, a whole lot of commoners, common people, they started getting associated. So the best part of this entire movement of Neo-Vaishnavism, or the Sankaradeva Movement that we call 15th, 16th century, which it started at that point. So it was a social movement, where it's not like, one-way process. The entire society got involved at various levels. So the art was just a kind of a platform which brought people together from different hues.
Fantastic.
And that's why the whole movement became very popular. And Onkya Nat was the first step. Gradually, dance started getting created. Music definitely was part of it, and crafts. So mask making tradition also got involved. So whole plethora of artistic traditions started getting involved with the Bhakti movement introduced by Honkordev. And when it became so popular, the saint poet had along with his disciples, thought of preserving this art form so that it can continue to later generations. And that's how the Chithra, the Vaishnavite monastery or the Vaishnavite institution, got framed and conceptualized. And today, it's because of those Vaishnavite monasteries and Chithras, we have these artistic traditions starting from 15th century alive and still practiced as a ceremonial offering, as a ritual in the Chithra. So when you say the current situation, it follows a whole it's without any stop, without any break since 15, since day one. It has been continuing, braving all challenges of time and space. So yeah, and when we say about Sattritya, it's a living dance tradition, which makes it very auspicious for all the practitioners, that whatever we are performing is also getting presented as a ritual. Of course, there are new choreographic compositions, but I'm saying that the mool, as we say,
the root of
mool, in a sense, the Indian words, in Indian term, the original compositions are very much there, which are created by the same poet, and still it's been practiced by the the followers.
It's so very interesting because what you say is what actually started as an art form has actually got a gamut of other concepts like mask making, and it's still a part of the ritual till date.
Yes,
and,
very much.
So when you say ritual, is it performed during weddings or?
No, not in weddings. It's especially it follows a particular calendar, of rites and rituals. So mostly the daily rituals are there. So rites starting from the morning prayers, and a dance is one of the very prime ingredient here in the entire ritual. It's not necessarily always dance will be performed. There are sequence of rituals, sequence of present.
Sure.
It would start with morning prayers, then reading of the charitas. Charitas are the biographical narratives written by the great saints. So those readings in a particular way, which we call as pat, those will be done. And then, following that, the daily rituals are maintained. And then we have special occasions where dance and theater, these are performed on occasions of Punyatithi of Srimanta Sankaradeva, Sri Madhav, all the great masters, or even the spiritual head, Punyatithi of the spiritual head of a particular Chithra. So on those occasions also these are performed. Another very important thing which you have mentioned, the current state. What is the current state? So it's very interesting that when we talk about the historical development of this dance form, it follows a very interesting pattern of, it's presented as a ritual, and at the same time, it's also presented on a proscenium, a space.
Right.
So both going simultaneously, and so far maintaining a beautiful organic balance.
How nice. And when you spoke about the narratives, how easily are all these narratives accessible? Are they available in the national libraries?
Mostly these manuscripts are available in the Chithras. See, the Chithras are it's an institution there. They have a library also.
Right.
And yes, and some of these narratives are printed, but most of them are in Assamese or ancient Assamese. So it's written in that format. Some of them are printed, and some of them are kept in the Chithra library, in the Chithras.
The reason why I asked was, there might be other people besides from other dance forms who might be interested to know more about this type of dance. So if there are any translations available in other languages, so that it might be easily accessible. So when you say that they're all maintained in the library.
Yes. One, of course, here I would like to say that one of the biggest, though it's a big asset, all these manuscripts and all, but to safeguarding of the manuscripts has also become very important, because those are manuscripts which are written age-old manuscripts.
Absolutely.
So to preserve them with all the necessary with the care which it should be taken, that has come to that needs to be taken care of. Some of them are already printed, those are fine, but we still have, see, it's a 600 years old asset. So to each and every generation, it contributes towards towards the growth of this tradition. So we have a huge volume of embodied knowledge.
Absolutely.
And at the same time, some of them are written in terms of literature. So these literature, some of them we have lost it because it has not been managed properly. And some it's still there. And now the government has taken few measures to safeguard these manuscripts.
That's really nice. Now, as a dancer, I'm very keen to know what are the similarities of the other classical dance forms with the Sattriya Nritya. What do you see as a dancer? I mean, have you had the opportunity to incorporate other classical dance forms in your traditional dance forms over the years? What's been your experience? I'd love to hear.
Of course, there are similarities, and we have done few collaborations, though these are not traditional compositions, of course, but in few choreographic compositions, we have done collaborative work. Personally, I was involved with working under the guidance of Bharati Shivaji ji for a comparative work of Chithra and Mohiniyattam. Then we also did with Chithra and Kuchipudi. So all those collaborative works have been happening. And other dancers, some of our friends also, our contemporaries, they have also been involved in few more choreographic collaborative work. So yeah, now when you ask me what are the similarities, see, if you put all the traditional Indian dance forms, performance traditions together on one platform, you will see uniformity somewhere or the other. You'll feel a connection, and be it in terms of the kinetics, be it in terms of the movements, there would be some way or the other, there would be a connection. Yeah, element of similarity. But yet, what makes it different are the indigenous flavors of the of each art form, where the regional you get to see the region, you get to see the whole Assam and its flavor in that art form. So
in fact, that's my next, that's what I was very curious to know. See, when you take Bharatanatyam and other art forms, classical forms from India, now Bharatanatyam has got more to do with our epics, Ramayana, Mahabharata, because it all started, and then there are so many other, it's based mostly on the Hindu deities. So how about the Sattriya dance? What is it?
For us, the literature that we have, mostly all the literature that we take are compositions written by Srimanta Shankardev and Sri Sri Madhadev. So though the stories are based on Ramayana and mostly Bhagavata Purana, stories have been involved from Bhagavata. Bhagavata Purana is one of the principal doctrines that we have in Kshatriya tradition. And being a Vaishnavite form, all the themes that we take up, all the philosophical notes also that we share revolve around this Vaishnavite philosophy of bhakti. And bhakti is one of the principal philosophy that we keep on sharing in each and every work. So though there are certain compositions where it would be like there would be composition on Bhagavata Dasha Lakshana. So all those where the philosophy of bhakti is interpreted in various ways. So bhakti is one of the very important component in our crucial element in our form. And of course, Krishna and Krishna Leelas are predominantly shown in most of the compositions. So when you say about literature, most of the literature are inspired from Bhagavata Purana, and the compositions of Srimanta Shankardev and Sri Sri Madhadev, those are taken as a base.
Okay, that's
so even if I do a piece of Ramayana, you would find a similarity of the story, but the way it would be done with music or with the language, that would be different.
Right. Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we would be having Brajabali or Asmis,
Mm.
and the music that is also Sattриya music, which we
Mm.
have indigenous raga system.
When you perform, what are the traditional instruments that you use in terms of accompaniments to your, is that
Yeah.
something different from what
Yes,
you
yes, of
have?
course, totally different. So the music that we have is the percussion is khol, and
Cool.
khol, yeah. In some of the compositions, mridanga is also used, but
Right.
now mostly khol is used. So
Mm.
khol, mridanga, it's not mridangam, it's mridanga. It's another version which we
Right.
find in Assam.
Mm.
Then we have cymbals,
Yeah. Mm.
manjira.
Mm.
So cymbals is there. Flute plays a very important role. So in the texts we have a reference called bonghi.
Mm-hmm.
Bonghi means flute.
Mm.
And then we have sarenda. Sarenda is a
Sorry.
string instrument which is not nowadays it's not used. So instead of sarenda we have violin.
Right.
So yeah, and the vocal, the Gayan part is done with Borgeets or the compositions of Sankaradeva and Madhavdev.
So that itself it forms a very unique and distinct style, isn't it? And also at the same time, I think as a dancer, you have tried to collaborate and with other dance forms as well to blend and bring in the flavor of all the other dance forms into your own style, and at the same time sharing your style to with the other dance forms as well. So that's amazing. Did you really want to become a dancer from your childhood, and when did you start your training?
Yeah, I was very clear I would be a dancer
Oh, really?
because,
Okay.
because as I told you that I feel blessed. I was born into a family of Hotra. So, Hautkusi Hotra in Sivsagar is the Hotra where I was born.
Mm.
So, in the entire family, I got to see how Bhavna is the Hotriya theater, or the music, music or the prayers are being offered as a kind of ritual. So my
Mm.
first connection to the world of performance was through bhavna, was through theater.
Mm.
And even as a child, I used to be so excited for each and every ritual offering of bhavna that I used to spend hours just watching a performer, in his rehearsals. The same person is a different you get to see him in a different mood. In the morning as a
Mm.
farmer you get to see him, and evening he is totally transformed into a character. So that fascination towards the world of performance happened to my early childhood by seeing Bhavna, the Sattritya theater.
Right.
That
Italian
made
style
me,
of dance.
yeah, there of course dance is one of the component, one of the principal components, but mostly my child, even I was crawling, or as a child when my in my father's lap I used to see and get so moved and transformed by the bhavna itself, bhavna
Mm.
performances. So
Mm-hmm.
that was a sort of first connection perhaps. And then seeing that interest, and also my grandmother used to teach me the prayers, the evening prayers, the morning prayers. So that was also a kind of informal education which helped me getting into that.
Go towards it. Mm.
Yes.
Mm.
And then my formal training started at the age of 6, under my adhyapak Bayana Sarjo Ghanakanta Bora. So with him again, it started with such a beautiful bond of friendship. It started with a talk of Krishna, because Krishna, in Bhavna you get to see Krishna character all the time, most of the time.
Mm.
So our whole conversation started with a beautiful note of Krishna, and from there on, Adhyapak and myself, that bond started with a beautiful friendship, starting with Krishna conversation.
How lovely.
And even today, the whole journey of learning has been so rewarding under him. I mean, dance became, it was never a separate thing which I had to force myself to learn. It was very much part of my organic
day-to-day
learning and way of it was very much part of my life. And now gradually, with that understanding, where adhyapak was giving or handing down lessons to me, to that state where dance became my own expression, or dance becoming, your entire identity or your own expression. So that journey has been very, it's been
rewarding.
full of experiences, rewarding, and I feel blessed that at each and every different phase of my life, I could experience dance in different levels.
Amazing. Have you had the opportunity to perform along with your guru?
Oh, yes, yes, many
Yeah.
times. Even now, yes.
Oh, nice.
And those travel experiences again with adhyapak, you get to learn so many different facets of the tradition
Yeah.
in those
It's an
trips
experience
when you
by
travel.
itself, isn't
Yes,
it?
yes.
Every
Because
concert.
classes are not restricted only to, a classroom kind of thing.
Sure.
You learn more when you spend time with such great masters.
Amazing.
And that way, uh, I could spend a lot of my time with several senior masters of the Chithra, and not only at the Chithra tradition, but also other performance traditions of Assam, because of my parents. My father, he himself is a very eminent scholar in this field. So as a child, I got to travel with him during his field work. And my mother was into production. She worked in Doordarshan Kendra, the national broadcasting channel.
Yeah.
So she used to document a lot of performance traditions of Assam, and I used to hang around with her. So that exposure had definitely framed and focused me that this is the line you have to go ahead, like you have to follow.
Amazing. Sattriya tradition also has, because now that when you say your mother had recorded a lot of, stories or documented so many other facts about Assam, does this traditional dance form also cover the folklore of Assam through stories?
Yes.
And yeah?
Definitely. See, every performance, when I say the literature of a performance tradition, that itself involves that itself includes the folklore. How so even in the text itself, you get to see that the whole landscape of Assam, or
Okay.
so the ecology of Assam gets featured in that literature, and the way it's been interpreted by various practitioners, there itself you see how the folklore is embodied in by each and every generation. Also, another important thing, that the whole system of documentation is very new thing, right? Our body has been a central archiving system through so many generations.
Yeah.
So even in one tune itself, you get to feel the land, you get to feel that entire region.
And you can bring that expression.
That is the beauty. Yeah.
Very nice.
The moment we have as Carnatic singer just interpreting a raga, you are taken to southern part of India.
Yes.
Same happens here. That is the power of I think performance, or that is the power of every performance tradition, that folklore or the entire land gets embodied in that in that system.
Absolutely. I can't agree anymore with you. This form has got a majority of female dancers, or it is a mix? What is the ratio since it started?
That's a very interesting question. Traditionally, it's been practiced even today. Mostly the male monks, they have been doing the dance numbers. But
Right.
when I say the hotra, there are two kinds of hotras. One that follows celibate order,
Okay.
where the residents, they don't marry. So 27 engagement into the world of, they have devoted themselves to.
Yes, like the Devadasi
Yes,
tradition.
yes. And there are there's a different order, domestic order, hotras, where people like us, we belong, where the rituals, along with the daily rituals of arts or daily rituals of prayers and
Yeah.
performances, the residents, they also can carry to the other work. So but now when we see both the tradition, in the celibate order hotra, everything, it's been practiced only by the male monks. So in the domestic order hotra, both male and female, they have been playing important roles in the ritual execution.
Right.
Now today, when we see outside the ritual context, we see a lot of girls being trained, and outside, in fact, outside the hotra, you would see more girls being performing this art form rather than boys. But
Right.
so if you get to see the current scenario, it's a mix of girls and boys. But traditionally, it's been performed only by the male monks, and the musical part has been taken by the female monks in the domestic order hotra.
Right.
And outside the ritual context, we have both male and female presenting the art form at different spaces.
Absolutely, very interesting. I'm sure you would love to spread this art form to the younger generation. I have two questions here, Anwesa. First is there any specific number of years that a person has to get trained in order to be ready to have a debut performance, or to perform give a solo performance? And secondly, how do you train them? I mean, is it part of your day-to-day training, or do they have to have some intensive training for a few years so that they are getting prepared and groomed to have their debut performance? How does it work?
The training system is open to everyone, whoever interested. In hotras, of course, again, from various, that's a different system, and it would take from the villages, various people offer their child to a hotra, and that child, yes, the adhyapak, the teacher, becomes the sole guardian of the child in all-round development of the child, and the child day to day, 24/7 is getting trained by staying within that hotra. So that's a different system.
Okay.
Outside the hotra, the whole system, the way you have said, how many years, all that curriculum frame had happened outside the hotra. Of course, a traditional curriculum is being followed in the hotra, where years after years, there is not particular time frame, like within the 1 year the child will be ready. Sure. The entire target is to prepare each and every child monk to that level of perfection where the child can present in the ritual along with the senior masters. So the child's vision is to stand in a perfect note in a ritual along with the senior masters. So that's the vision in the hotra. Outside, of course, the curriculum has been framed, and we have 3 centers that conducts this kind of examination sort of. Yes. So Sangeet Satra, which was established by one of the senior masters of a hotra itself, and a lot more senior masters are involved here. So Sri Rochester Hoikia Borbayan. So he along with some of the senior masters of the hotra designed the curriculum. So Sangeet Satra, one center. Another center is Satra Mahasabha, and another center is Hongkor, Hongkong. So all these three centers, they have been conducting, these curriculum frame training.
Right.
And according to that frame, we have a 7 years training where a child gets introduced to this particular pattern of, to this curriculum. And then after 7 years, the child is ready for further advanced training and accordingly performances too. So this 7 years of training, it starts the first 2 years a rigorous body training with Mathia. Now you might ask, what is Mathia? Mathia are the traditional training system of body.
Right.
Where it involves a lot of acrobatic movements and at the same time movements which are used in dance. So learning the basic alphabets of the tradition. So first 2 years is only training of that. And after training of that, one moves to the learning of dance numbers, the traditional compositions. And then first only the traditional compositions are taught. Later on, one gets to learn choreographic numbers later on. But the traditional compositions are must in the first 7 years of training. And in that 7 years of training, the first 2 years are rigorous training of the body in Mathia.
Right. Okay. That's very like we have the set of adavus. We have to
Right. And these Mathia are not designed by one particular teacher or you and me, but it's traditionally handed down oral grammar of the performance.
Oh, nice. So it's all recorded methodically, it's structured, and it's a very structured form of dance.
And here we are blessed that the Chithras kept that grammar alive. They have the masters at various generations evolved this grammar, and even if we are training the child outside the Chitra, we are following that same principle, that which the Chitras have worked it out. But yes, with time, for example, earlier in the Chitras, only the indigenous hand gestures, the local hand gestures were taught. But now, along with that, the other Shastric hand gestures are also taught to a child. So these additional things have been incorporated in the curriculum for enhancement of knowledge. But emphasis is always given to that traditional knowledge which is handed down to us by the great masters.
Very, very interesting. What would be your advice to the younger generation, especially children who wish to pursue this form of dance as a career?
First and foremost, whenever we talk about career in any field, we have to give our 100% to that entire thing, the dedication and devotion. And at the same time, we have to be patient. Sometimes we do become I have seen a tendency of becoming impatient and running to this and that. We have to be patient, and we have to trust that embodied knowledge which has kept a tradition alive. We are just living to one generation, but just imagine the tradition has been living through so many generations. So that trust, that confidence, and that surrender to that learning which you are doing, that is one of the most important things which we should always remember. And that once that is there, the tradition itself will guide you how to move ahead.
How beautifully put.
Yes. Once that sense of surrender is there, then that itself will guide us ahead, and that itself will lead us. So my belief has always been that, and I always try to share that with my young friends.
That's very valuable advice. Now, I understand you are the festival director of Pragjyoti International Dance Festival. So, what really prompted you to start this, and what do you want to achieve through this?
Actually, that also has a very interesting story. When I was a child, I told you, I used to travel with my parents to various places. And then I saw, the Chennai season as a
Malgudi.
child. Yeah, of music and dance.
Mm.
And my question to my father was that why don't we have such occasion in Guwahati where we have such a confluence of so many people coming, watching, discussing about arts.
Sure.
So that question remained with me.
Mm.
And later on, once when I went to perform in Bhubaneswar,
Mm.
a very senior dance critic, Shamari Chakra, who writes for the Hindu, we were just talking about this, and I just shared this, oh, such a wonderful festival, and we were talking about that festival scene.
Mm. Mm.
And he just said, Anwesha, why don't you start off a festival? I was like, taken aback. Are you joking? How
Dream
can,
come true. Yeah.
yeah, festival, it means a lot of things and a lot of arrangements. So I'm not a person to do it. No, no, you can do it. So that is 2008 I'm talking about. So then, but he emphasized and he had like total trust. That
Mm.
same thing when I came back to Guwahati, I shared it with some of our friends, and my parents did support a lot in that. And together we formed Kalpa, a society for promotion of literature, art, culture, and social harmony.
Mm.
And from 2009 onwards, with our limited efforts, limited support, and with our wholehearted efforts, we could mount up this festival from 2009. And since then, it's been going on. We completed 11 years of the festival.
Amazing.
So the whole understanding of that festival was this, to give a platform where some of the traditional art forms of Assam are also given space.
Mm.
And at the same time, there is a beautiful exchange of artists from different parts of the globe, to witness the performance of Assam. And at the same time, the artists from Assam also get an opportunity to interact and see the performances. So to create that platform of exchange, we did this. Another important component of the festival, which we have been doing, was to create a sense of awareness, because art lives only when there is a sense of awareness. It's not like separate things. So I wanted to build a kind of an ecology for art understanding. And that's why we during the morning hours of the festival, we visit various educational institutions, especially the non-performing arts departments. So we visit engineering institutes, management, architecture, various different education institutions, and we interact with the artists and talk about the interdisciplinary nature of dance. So, where, especially for the younger generation, I felt that there was a sense of disconnect with like the traditional performance, especially the sense of disconnect with the traditional performances that we had. So my intention was to bridge that gap.
Sure.
And while talking about Bharatanatyam, or while talking about Khatriya, or while talking about Ojapali, we're also talking about management. We're also talking about architecture. We're also talking about management of the space. So all those things, various interdisciplinary nature of dance, that we have focused in all those sessions, and try to build a sense of awareness through this festival. So the festival for us is not just quote unquote a festival. I wanted to shape the festival as an experience for each one of them. Be it as a performer, if I come to the festival, we also take the artists to various heritage sites of Assam and experience, some of the performances there, so that for each one who is a part of the performance, who is a part of the festival, let that festival become an experience for each one of them.
And they take very valuable memories back with them, with a good exchange.
Yeah, so far we have been able to do it. I hope we can carry it forward.
I'm sure you will, and it's so very interesting to learn about this wonderful initiative. I wish you all the very best for many more years of success with this excellent initiative, and hopefully, yes, we can collaborate at some point in the coming years.
Yes.
How would you describe yourself in 3 words?
Learner and explorer.
So your favorite holiday destination?
Hill station, any hill station. I'm very fond of hills.
Your favorite food, cuisine?
Assamese cuisine, anytime, from mother's kitchen.
Beautiful.
Because I love very light food, and I find Assamese cuisine is very light.
Who have been your influences?
My adhyapak, definitely. Throughout, he has been a friend, philosopher, guide, and I am also very inspired by my parents. And also another thing, Chitraji, which again I really follow, every person have beautiful positive qualities, and I try to imbibe that.
Beautifully put. And with this, we come to the end of our chat.
Thank you, Chitraji.
Thank you so much. Lovely talking to you. All the best. Namaste.
Thank you.